I know what you're thinking. Why in the world would Sega release a game based on Michael Jackson? Right now, in 2014, it's hard to take this game seriously. It seems like such a ludicrous idea. Besides which, it's a bit uncomfortable to play as Michael Jackson surrounded by small children. But to dismiss this game based on the singer's image leading up to the time of his death is to do it a disservice. It's worth remembering who Jackson was when Moonwalker was released in 1990. This was before his life had become a punchline. We were still about 3 years removed from the first accusations of child molestation and the subsequent career spiral. Michael Jackson, honestly at this point, owned the whole world. Even if you don't count his successful career in the 60s and 70s with the Jackson 5, Michael simply owned the 80s, releasing 3 of the most successful studio albums of all time. 1979's Off the Wall made Jackson the first artist to record 4 top 10 singles from one album. 1982's Thriller broke that record with 7 top 10 singles. Thriller also spent 80 consecutive weeks in the Billboard Top 10. It was the first of only 4 albums in history thus far to remain in the top 10 for more than a year. It's also generally accepted that Thriller is the top-selling album worldwide all time. 1987's Bad album made Jackson the first artist to record 5 #1 hits from a single LP. Jackson had 9 #1 singles in the US during the 1980s, more than any other artist. He also wrote and co-produced the first single in history to be certified multi-platinum by the RIAA, a little song called We Are the World. The Bad World Tour, running from 1987 to 1989, was the highest grossing world tour in history at that point, earning over $125 million. Jackson broke this record 2 more times with the Dangerous and History World Tours. This was Michael Jackson in 1990, so you can understand why Sega would want to release a game based on him, and why that game enjoyed a central role in the Genesis Does What Nintendon't ad campaign. Moonwalker was actually a feature-length film released in 1988. The movie is made up of multiple segments, including videos and live performances of songs from the Bad album. The whole thing is anchored by a long-form video for the song Smooth Criminal, which features Jackson's battle with a drug lord named Mr. Big, played by Joe Pesci.
Better spell my name right. L-I-D-E-O. So simple. Frankie Ladeo. Very easy. Bugs and drugs. Smooth operation.
The main portion of the video features a dance number in Club 30, which is the basis for the first level of the game. After that, the game diverges more and more from the film, before coming back and ending up in Mr. Big's fortress for the final battle. The core mechanics of Moonwalker are pretty straightforward. It plays similarly to Shinobi, where Michael's traversing through multi-tiered levels searching for trapped children. Once all the children have been found, Mike's real-life pet, Bubbles, appears and leads him to the final showdown. What's impressive is the sheer number of dance moves the game incorporates into the fighting system, even though the controller only has 3 buttons. Pretty much every single animation in the game is based on one of Jackson's signature dance moves. You can even do the moonwalk. like in the movie, Michael is magical, and that magic can be used for his attacks.
Michael!
As long as Michael's magic meter isn't in the red, he fires projectiles with every move, which extends the range of his attacks. If his magic meter drops into the red, he's reduced to standard punches and kicks. Michael can toss his hat as a projectile by tapping the magic button, and when the player holds the magic button, Michael goes into an invincible spin. If you hold that button for 2 seconds straight, then Michael breaks into one of his signature dance routines along with every enemy on the screen. It's a musical version of a smart bomb. And if Michael catches a shooting star, he turns into an indestructible flying robot. This is actually based on the climax of the film. Yeah, I never said there was nothing weird about Moonwalker. The biggest draw, of course, is the inclusion of Michael Jackson's music in the game. Unlike the movie, Moonwalker the video game includes music from the Bad and the Thriller albums. Songs include Smooth Criminal, Bad, Another Part of Me, Billie Jean, and Beat It. But of course the big question is, where's Thriller? The woods levels seem tailor-made for the song, what with all the gravestones and zombies everywhere. When you use the dance attack in this level, all the zombies line up and actually do the famous Thriller routine. Even Sega's own advertising touted the inclusion of the song in the game. But if you listen, you'll hear that the music accompaniment in this level is Another Part of Me. In fact, it seems as though this was a last-minute change. The August 1990 edition of Video Games and Computer Entertainment specifically states that Thriller did play during the woods level in the preview version of the game. So it appears the change was made in the last month or so of development. It also seems like that change wasn't as thorough as it should have been. In the first revision of the game, when Michael uses his dance attack in the woods, bars of the song Thriller do play during the dance. Much like they did with Mystic Defender and Revenge of Shinobi earlier, Sega quietly fixed this problem by releasing new revisions of the game, replacing the song with excerpts from Another Part of Me and Billie Jean. So why isn't Thriller included? I mean, it is pretty much the song that comes to mind when you think of Michael Jackson. I don't know that Sega ever released an official reason, but the best theory is that Thriller was the only song in the game that wasn't actually written by Michael Jackson. It was written by Rod Temperton, who wrote other Jackson songs like Rock With You and Baby Be Mine. Michael Jackson was apparently a big video game fan. He had a collection of something like 120 arcade machines by the time he died, over 20 of which were Sega games. He also pretty famously made a lot of visits to Sega of America in San Francisco. And Moonwalker was only the first in a handful of video game appearances for Jackson. He later appeared in Sega's Space Channel 5 series and Midway's Ready to Rumble boxing series, both for the Dreamcast and PlayStation 2. There's also a long-running rumor that Jackson was actually contracted to write the music for Sonic the Hedgehog 3, though that apparently fell through, no doubt due to all the scandals surrounding him in the mid-90s. And no one who was actually there seems to be allowed to talk about it due to legal reasons. There were actually 4 different versions of a Moonwalker video game. Sega released a pared-down version of this game for their Master System, as well as an arcade game that bears very little resemblance to the Mega Drive version, though the brawling and dancing mechanics remained the same. US Gold also released a PC game that seems to be completely different from every other version.